Hi, I'm Mark Scherer. I'm the CEO and founder of Encompass Life and the host of the Encompassing Life Podcast, where we interview people who are making a difference in life and health and are have some different ways to address life than kind of the run of the mill, give me a pill and we'll see what happens kind of a deal. So I have the privilege of having Beth Theodore on the call today. Beth is with Beth Theodore Acupuncture out of Los Angeles, and she's an author. And from what I'm getting, she leads seminars on a all over the world, or has or is continuously. So Beth is doing a wonderful job, and I'm curious to see what drives her success and what all she's doing. Beth, welcome so much to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit about you've been in the practice for a number of years now. How many years did you say?
24 years.
24 years.
Yeah.
So what had you start in the health industry, wellness?
Yeah. So for me, healthcare has sort of been a lifelong dream. As ever since I was a kid, I love looking at different ways to heal the body and to heal the body naturally. So using nutrition, using herbs. And this was back in late 80s, 90s when it wasn't really discussed. People weren't really talking about it, but I just always felt connected to it. And I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. So my passion was really working with people to help their bodies feel better rather than working with overtaking their bodies, like with medicine. There's a place for that. I just knew that that didn't resonate with me. So this
Right.
was something that I was really looking to connect with and, again, help people to feel empowered within their own bodies, within their own health.
Gotcha. So at what age did you get involved? Did you have start having interest in like how to heal the body? I mean, that's like, oh, like, did you go to a doctor and have an experience with them, or what had you put it all together?
Right. So when I was really young, 7, 8, my dad got these books called it was Home Remedies. I don't know if you remember those books. It was very popular at the time, sort of like an alternate way to heal the body. And I just couldn't stop reading through it. And so when family members or friends would discuss different conditions they had, I'd always pull out the book and try to look for ways to heal them. And then in the area I grew up, there were little shops where they would have herbs and crystals and things like that. So I remember going there to try to learn that as well. And again, I mean, thinking back, I was so young, but it just always felt connected to it. And my parents, they weren't big medicine people, so they always felt that if you eat well, that you'll just feel healthier.
All
So
right.
I think it was that kind of my upbringing.
Sometimes that works, the eating well, but then sometimes there's still another component there that's driving that state of non-ease, or what normally people call dis-ease, but it's really a state of non-ease.
Right.
And so with acupuncture, you can address some of those emotional blockages or energetic blockages along the meridians.
Yeah. So to kind of move a little bit forward with, from when I was young and learning some very basic things, I started looking for different modalities that would help people heal really from a holistic point of view. And that's when I stumbled across acupuncture. I had my first session and loved it. I just felt incredible after. And so I started researching schools. And one thing that a lot of people in the States don't really know, or maybe they're starting to learn, is that acupuncture is a part of a bigger system. So the whole system of Eastern medicine encompasses acupuncture as well as herbs and nutrition, but not just nutrition in a one size fits all style, but more from a perspective of the individual. And that's what Eastern medicine really offers. So with acupuncture, we're working with each person for their own unique body as well as their own unique condition.
Gotcha. And also with Eastern medicine, it also addresses emotional component. Lungs are about grief and fear. So there's that's one of the things I really liked about Chinese medicine. There's always an emotional component to all states of non-ease as well.
Yes, and it's interesting to bring that up because that's one of my specialties is working with people on that emotional level. So for instance, some people do come to see me for specific things like high stress or anxiety, insomnia. And then sometimes people come in because they have this chronic neck pain that they can't resolve. And after talking to them, even 20, 30 minutes, we discover that a lot of it has to do with some grief that they're holding on to, or perhaps stress that's worsening the pain. So it either could be causing it or creating more pain because of it. And so once we start to work through that, either with acupuncture or some other modalities I do, such as something called NET, which is Neuro Emotional Technique, it's a way that we can actually discover what the specific stressor is or a potential trauma that caused that.
Right.
And once we can release it from the body, the patient starts to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. In the modality we have here, the neck is there something you know you should be doing or not, or is there something you are doing that you know you shouldn't be doing?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's in a joint, it always has to do with resentment.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. So joints and ligaments, it has to do with resentment. It's because it goes like an emotional charge. If it's more acute, it will turn up like maybe show up as an irritation in the skin. But then if you keep working it or don't address it, it keeps going in deeper and deeper and deeper. So by the time it gets to the bones, it's been anger suppress until it shows up as resentment.
Yeah, it's an interesting view because it does coincide a lot with Chinese medicine, which there's so many different layers of illness and healing. And one of them is, as you're saying, when you've carried something for so long, it does go deeper. And we look at it kind of from a different perspective, but very similar to what you're talking about, where we need to go into that area to actually release it. Otherwise, the pain never resolves. So you can
Right.
take all the medicine you want, you can
Yeah.
even take all the herbs that you want, but until you work on the actual root cause, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, because whatever that root cause is toxic to the system. So the body's fighting the toxicity is producing that's of the incident rather, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't go into body repair until you can release that energy or
Exactly.
move find what it turns into.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. The Chinese pretty spot
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah. And they've known it for thousands of years. That's the difference, is that this is a medicine that's been developed for years and has evolved over time.
Yeah,
But it's rooted in that basic cause that we're all one being. We're not separate
you're
parts.
you're talking my lingo now, Beth. This is awesome. Yeah, and there's a language of separation, or there's a
Mhm.
language of oneness, of unity. And
Yep.
what I've found, I've been studying consciousness for 35 years. All disease is produced by speaking the language of separation. All disease,
Yep.
all
I can
pain and
see.
suffering, and what people believe because basically it's a lie. And when you lie to yourself, it's toxic to your system.
Okay. I like that point of view.
Yeah, oh, we're getting along great. She says she loves my hair. I'm way bullshitting you right now. She said my hair was great today, and hers is for real, for sure. So yeah, and even in scriptures it says anger will rot the bones. Hate and anger rots the bones. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So it's like what you're doing, like it's everywhere. But people, yeah, and people read the words and they go, oh, that's nice. That's cool. That's an interesting concept. But they don't take it into their body. Like what does that
Right.
really mean? Contemplate it and chew on it and
Right.
digest it. What is what if that's really, really true?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mention that because from what I'm learning and what I've learned over all these years is that each culture discusses this in their core work. And so let's say with Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine, the idea is that, like, as you said, we are all one and different emotions will affect our bodies differently. And with Eastern Chinese medicine, however you want to look at it, each organ system carries physical components, but also emotional components,
Yeah.
right? And so when you're working on something, you're looking at what's actually affected. Excuse me. So, for instance, let's say somebody's really angry all the time.
Hmm.
And so we look at it as it potentially could be affecting the liver, let's say,
Yeah.
because anger is the emotion of the liver. Now,
Right.
it could be related to other organs as well when there's other emotions related. Maybe perhaps underlying the anger is grief,
Yeah.
and grief affects the lungs. So
Yeah.
perhaps you're feeling really angry and having shortness of breath,
Yeah.
or you're catching colds all the time,
Yeah.
right? And so when you resolve the emotion, you're often resolving the physical component as well, or vice versa.
Correct. And kind of what I found is sometimes you can work with people on the emotional scale, and generally it works about 50 to 60% of the time. And some of us, and if we work with somebody just on the nutritional side, the herbal side, it usually works about 50 to 60% of the time. But if you combine those two things, now now we got game on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
have you ever heard of iridology?
Yes.
So we combined iridology with Chinese medicine.
Oh.
And so you can see all the conversations instead of just an organ, but all the emotional components of what's creating the issue, the reflective issue in the organ. And once those things are switched, the eye will change like
Mhm.
immediately.
Not
So
super.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Well,
have
that's the thing.
yeah. It's
I find
amazing.
that each part of the body is a microsystem of the entire body.
Yeah. Shit. Pardon me, but dang, Beth, this is awesome.
Yeah, it all really coincides. I feel like everything that we're saying, you can see this in different aspects of the body. And
Yeah.
once people start to heal, you will see it in their eyes. I mean, people, their eyes are glowing
Yeah.
because when they're not feeling well or they're depressed or they're
Yeah.
going through something heavy, their eyes just have sort of a blank look.
Yeah. Sometimes people come into classes like their eyes, it looks like drains around their eyes, where their eyes are sucking light in, like there's a
Mhm.
vortex of energy being sucked into their eyes. When somebody's doing that, they're they're being influenced by everything in their outer world, and they're at the victim of their outer world, and they're just walking around like, oh, like what's going to happen? What's going down the drain next? What's happening to me next? And then once they kind of get the like what, I'm in charge of my life. I'm the one that's creating all this. Once they really begin to see it and believe it, all of a sudden their eyes begin to emit light. That sparkle comes back. It's like, wow, I love that.
Yeah.
I love seeing the sparkle.
Yeah,
You got
exactly.
you got sparkles.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's important. And things happen in our lives. Some of it we can control and some of it we can't. So how do we work with circumstances that are in our lives?
Yeah. Like one of some of the things in classes too is if I walked, 20 people, if I walked up to each one of you and slapped you on the side of the face with the same place with the same force, how many different responses do you think I would get? Well, 20.
Right.
So it's not about what happens in your life; it's about what you make up to what happens in your life. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
and how you respond to it. And you can either respond in a way that's going to produce a karmic event, or you can respond in a way that's going to produce, something that's going to be like most people say, "Well, it's a miracle the way you handle that situation." Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the same. It's just that emotional intelligence and of that individual how they handle it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point that you're making. It's how do we work with what's in our current lives and our current
Yeah,
experiences? Because we can't control what's coming in, but
no,
we can control how we work with it,
respond. Yeah, our
how we
body.
respond. Exactly.
Yeah, our own body chemistry. That's the only thing we can really control is our own body chemistry. If we can't control that, then good luck.
Exactly.
They're trying to control everybody else.
Right.
So,
Right. It's a losing
so,
game.
so you have a book out also, correct?
I do. I have two current. One is currently out. The other one I written a number of years ago. But yeah, the latest book is it's helping people understand the core of what Chinese medicine is all about and helping them to see how it can help their own bodies.
So can you give a little taste of what's in it?
Sure. So the beginning, it starts off helping people understand a little more about themselves. So in Chinese medicine, things are broken down in a variety of different ways, and one of them is based on the elements. So we have five elements in Chinese medicine. We have earth, fire, water, wood, and metal. And each element will respond to different organs and different emotions and different body systems. And so we start with a quiz that you can take. It's a very simple quiz, but it gives you an idea of what your body. So do you tend towards being more of an earth body or more of a metal body, for instance? Just to kind of help you to understand. And based on that, that's how you would know what would be good for you. So maybe an earth body would have a different diet, for instance, than a metal body. Okay, so it's really helping someone understand
So,
themselves a little better. Mhm.
so between the earth body and the metal body, what are
Yeah,
the characteristics of that person's body? So people
sure.
who, I'm trying to plug you here, okay?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to make this too confusing. So, for instance, earth is related to our digestive system, our stomach, and our spleen. And it's really how our body takes in the outside world, whether through food. So you could eat the healthiest diet, but if your digestive systems aren't working, you're not absorbing the nutrients. But it's the same with the world. How are you taking in information? Are you able to process it, or is it overwhelming? So we want that system to be strong in all of us, but some people tend towards that. So, for instance, let's say you're an earth body. Those systems could be stronger or weaker. It's something that you want to focus on. And I find that people who tend to be earth bodies are people who really want to be there for other people. You see people often who are very empathetic, very caring. They're people who like to bring people together, host events, things like that. Again, there are people who maybe have a tendency towards enjoying food too much or being very attracted to eating very healthfully. So often you're seeing this together. These are people who are also tend to be very grounded. They tend to be very strong individuals, strong in that they can keep going, they have a lot of endurance. Whereas, let's say, a metal body is related to the lung and the large intestine. And I don't want to be too confusing for anybody, but essentially, metal bodies tend to also be very strong, but in a different way. They tend to be people who are very muscular. They like to work out. They might like to do things like yoga because it focuses on the breath. And since metal's associated with the lungs, then they enjoy breathing, and but sometimes you have the opposite where they have a hard time breathing. When they're stressed, they either have shortness of breath, or they might be people who, whereas earth people might use food, let's say, to work through emotions, metal people might use smoking, for instance, because that's the lungs. So each organ has its own specific qualities, both on a physical and an emotional level. And when you read the book, it breaks it down in a much more simple, easily digestible way, so people can really get a feel of what they tend towards.
Interesting. And what's the name of the book?
What's up with acupuncture?
What's up with
Yep.
acupuncture? And
Yeah.
how long
Because
is?
once you get through that part of it, then we go into breaking down some of the theory behind it, what we're doing. So when you go to an acupuncturist, it's not just saying like, oh, I've got shoulder pain and they're going to stick a bunch of needles in your shoulder. They want to really understand, they meaning all of us who are acupuncturists, really
Mm,
break down the specifics of why you have that shoulder pain and what body systems are affected. Acupuncture is based on an energetic system. So our body has different energy pathways. And so when we're working with you, we're focusing on healing those pathways. A way to look at it, I'm based out of the LA area, and as many people know, we have a lot of traffic here. And so if you think of the freeway, when certain areas of the freeways get congested, then cars line up suddenly. People are honking, people are stressed. And if you can remove that traffic, if you can remove that congestion, things start flowing better. And that's how it works in our bodies as well. So it's important to find, let's say, where that stagnated area is or where that weak area is, clear it through, and then the pain starts to resolve, or the emotions start to heal. So that's essentially what is broken down in the book, again, in a very easy to understand way. So my co-author and I really wanted to present a book so people can really understand what Chinese medicine, what acupuncture is. And then we go on to explain what a treatment might look like. So for people who are interested in trying acupuncture but have no idea what it's going to be and want to have an idea before going in, we
hmm
break down what a treatment will look like and what future treatments will look like and how you're going to feel after a session. And then finally, how you can continue to keep your body healthy. So it's not just getting acupuncture and then you go home and you're healed. You may need to make some subtle alterations in your life that are very specific to you.
Interesting. How long has it been out and published?
Gosh,
Years ago?
yeah, about 2 years ago. Sorry, time just goes so fast.
Yeah.
I think we actually ended up publishing it in, I believe it was 2023. I apologize that I can't remember the
Oh
exact
yeah.
date. We'd worked on it for several years, and then we finally had it published.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And you're getting some credibility with the book out and some speaking
yeah,
opportunities. Great.
absolutely. And it's really helpful. Again, our main our main goal is to make something that seems foreign to a lot of people better able to understand. And that's a
Yeah.
lot of my purpose to my own practice is I want people to feel empowered by what we're doing and within their own lives and bodies.
Hmm. Yep. So many people have been sold so many bills of lies. I mean, even a drink commercial on TV. Drink this and look at all the women that are going to be around you. Wear this aftershave. Look at all the women.
Mhm.
Wear this perfume and look at all everything.
Right.
Smoke this cigarette and I mean, all the stuff. And it's become so people get so jaded to all this stuff that when something comes up that's maybe a little bit out of the norm that actually works, like they can't even hear it from where they are.
Right. 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 They're always looking for external validation or
Yeah,
external
yeah,
treatments or things that will help them to feel better. And a lot of it is helping to rebalance the body within
yeah,
so then you naturally are better. It's not relying on something.
yeah,
And that's what's important even with people I work with. The goal is to get you to where we can take off the training wheels and then you can go and you're living a healthier life.
yeah.
So a lot of
Awesome.
people will come to me for a period of time and then they go and they live their life and they're doing well and something might come up so they come back. It's sort of like a tune-up,
Tune up.
right?
Yeah,
Or maybe, right, we're working with something. Ultimately, I don't want people to be dependent on this. That's
yeah.
not the goal. The goal is to really, again, feel empowered in your own health and your own body.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the day of the gurus is done.
Exactly. Yeah,
Ev-
I don't want to be anyone's guru.
yeah, everyone. The greatest thing to show somebody is how to really connect with. I guess the way I equate it is when I first started doing this work, it was my voices in my head. It was like I was listening to 15 different radio stations at the same time, all tuned to a different channel. So you couldn't hear the quiet
Mm,
whisper. Like there was so much static there.
yeah.
And and actually, which was kind of wild, is the static I was getting was the questions I had asked from a place of hate. In other words, why do I keep screwing up? Why can't I do anything right? What's wrong with me? That was all questions I asked from a place of hate. And
Mm,
what happened was every one of those questions came back with a whole bunch of answers associated with it.
right.
And asking you shall receive, that works 100% of the time. I was just
Right.
asking some really stupid ass questions. And so I was getting all that were based on stupid questions and hating the response because I asked them from a place of hate.
Yeah, almost like self-hate, like punishment.
Yeah, yeah.
Why am I bad?
Or, something my parents had told me as a kid or,
Mm,
whatever. And those things would just be stuck in there. I think everybody still has them, I mean, if you ask a man who's been single for a while, tell me about women. Well, women, rah, 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 and so they have that charge in there. Same thing with women who are looking to get in a relationship with like a real divine partner. And everyone, they all say the same thing. What they desire to have a relationship. I want to have fun. I don't want to fight too. I don't want to fight. Most of it's like what you don't want, though. Most people speak what they don't want instead of what they
it's
really
true.
choose.
Yeah.
And you talked about anxiety. There's a direct correlation between the word not and anxiety. The higher the percentage of knots a person speaks, the higher the level of anxiety they have.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're asking for what they don't want, and they keep getting what they don't want, and so they
Right.
they become a victim in all that anxiety from, oh, what's happening? Going to happen to me next? I don't want to struggle with money. I'm struggling with money. That produces
Right.
that's anxiety, man. And so we've noticed that you can change that one world will change your world, and
Yeah.
and anxiety will go away. I was hoping to meet your cat, but I probably not. Meet your cat here.
Yeah, she's speaking over here. I think she's shy. She
Uh,
doesn't want to come on camera.
you told me changing the subject here, squirrel, but she mentioned she had a cat that would be up on the call here. But so anyway, so when if somebody comes to meet you, I guess you have an office in downtown or somewhere in LA.
No, so LA is a really large city. So I'm in the county of LA and my office is located in Manhattan Beach.
Oh, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, it's beautiful over here. And as I said, maybe we had spoken about this before, but I'm part of an integrative center.
Oh, cool.
So Yeah, so it's beautiful. They can come to see me to have acupuncture. We have yoga. I mean, we have a variety of different modalities as well. And the goal is really to create a space where somebody goes and they feel like they can just breathe. The outside world,
How
maybe
how close are you to the beach?
we are about a mile.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
four blocks or so, 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what part of it, maybe a little bit longer, but really not that far at all. I
So
mean,
you
it's
get that
maybe like
beautiful ocean
1 mile.
breeze.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. Yeah.
So I know you have also a time allotment here. So real quickly, when somebody comes to meet you, say for the first time, or they're curious about this, what's your initial appointment with somebody like?
Yeah, so once they've already scheduled or if they're reaching out to me.
So they're reaching out to you, like, hey, is this right for me? I choose
Yeah.
no, first of all, I'm getting needles stuck in me, and what am I going to do? How is this
Right.
going to work out?
Right. Exactly. So first question always is, will it hurt? I think that's the biggest fear. And what I always tell people is the needles are so thin. I think a lot of people assume the needles will feel like sewing needles or hypodermic needles, which they don't. Each needle is, let's say you could stick 20 needles of acupuncture into one hypodermic. They're so skinny, they're
Mm,
so small that most people do not feel the needles at
mm,
all. So I like to let people know, and I don't use a lot of needles. The style of acupuncture I do is very specific. So we're looking for the exact points the person needs. So what I let them know is it's going to be a process. It's not a
mm,
one and done type of
mm,
situation. And depending on how long they've had the condition, how their body responds, will determine how many needles they need or how many sessions rather they need.
mm,
And then we'll discuss that there will be other things as well. There'll be some self work as well, things that they'll do after the session. And are they comfortable with that
mm,
level of commitment?
mm.
And I explain that we'll discuss other things. There might be other modalities.
Yeah.
And if somebody is nervous about needles, I also do tuning forks.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I know that's a whole other
Well,
conversation, but
no.
tuning fork therapy. So I have tuning forks and they're each set to different frequencies.
Mhm,
And so they can also stimulate acupuncture points very similarly. And so I can do those in place of needles or together with the needles.
hmm,
And I found the results to be tremendous. I mean, it's really powerful blending the two together. And as I mentioned, I do other modalities as well, like NET. And I might use essential oils on points. I may use herbs. We may discuss meditation. So there's a variety of different techniques that we can do. So depending on what the person is seeking, I will always ask them the direction that they're wanting, their goals.
mhm,
And one thing that I ensure in my practice is that each person gets as much time as they need. So I always schedule one patient at a time. It's important to ensure that if the person needs most of the time talking or working through their stuff, that's available. So
mm,
each hour, or some people can schedule an extended session. So if we need to really go into depth on things, we can
mhm,
schedule an hour and a half. And that whole time is dedicated to them. So I let them know that their
mm,
healing
mm.
and their needs are my sole focus during that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes there's just having just vomiting and getting it out, and then have somebody help you clean it up.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to reach you, what's the best way to connect with you, Beth?
Yeah. So there's a variety of ways. I often recommend people go to my website. Really gives them an idea of what I'm about, what their session will be, different modalities
Mhm,
that I offer, excuse me. And my website is beththeodore.com. So it's BETHTHEODORE.com. And there they can learn about me. They can also reach out to me. They can also contact me by phone or email as
mhm.
well.
Cool. I always end the podcast with one question,
Yes.
and my question is, what do you love about life?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I love that there's always new experiences to be had. I'm somebody, I love adventure. I like to travel. I like to see new things, meet new people. And what I love about life is every day there's a potential to learn more, to gain more, to experience more. So yeah, I would say it's probably my favorite part.
Awesome. Well, Beth, thank you so much for being on the show. And I love what you're doing. And I love that you have all these other modalities as well. That's really cool. And, for those of you who are watching, you can tell she has a wonderful personality as well.
Mm.
So not just go in there and stick a bunch of needles and go from one patient to the next. She'll sit down with you and and, Beth appears to be really real. You can sit down and have a real conversation with you and really find what you're about and find the perfect solution for you. So Beth, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you.
You too, Beth. Thank you.